questions, we're going to get Sister Cindy's husband up here, Brother Ed. And most of you men out there, and especially you people, you need a good understanding of proteins and the right type of proteins. And you need to understand about their good proteins or bad proteins. I mean, you know that you can't go out there to these stores and buy protein and expect you're getting what you call good proteins. You're basically just getting a bunch of junk. But anyway, this is Brother Ed. This is Sister Cindy's husband. All right, Brother Ed, what you got?
All right. Well, first I want to talk a little bit about the protein, and I also want to talk about the gluten-free diet.
Gluten-free.
Gluten-free. So we can talk about whichever one you want to go into first.
Gluten-free sounds good.
Okay. The gluten-free, for people who don't know what that is, gluten is a natural protein that is found in most grains. And the problem is that years ago, when things were natural, before we had people like Monsanto and other companies and scientists and all these people who thought they could improve upon what God created, they would go and they in their little laboratories, they would try to improve on these grains. They try to improve on the seeds, and they genetically modify them. And what happens is that the gluten protein is found primarily in wheat, rye, and barley. That's the three main ones, but especially wheat. Wheat is used nowadays in today's society, all globally, as far as all breads and pastas and any kind of fillers. They use this wheat, and this wheat is the protein. The gluten protein is found in there. It has a very good structure. It makes things bind together. It gives them like a thickness. They use it for a thickener, a binder to make things gooey. Because Americans or people around the world like to have like nice gooey bread or nice things to stick together. They're using ice cream. They're using sauces for thickeners. They're using all kinds of stuff. If you do any research on gluten and the gluten protein, you will see a list of ingredients that they use this in. It just goes on and on and on. And what happens is, years ago, the natural amount of the gluten protein is found in, say, the finished product, the actual fruit of the wheat that people used to consume, was a small amount. But when they discovered the usefulness of it, and these food companies wanted to improve the amount of that protein and use it concentrate more, what they decided to do is they contacted these seed companies, these scientists, to genetically modify them to where they would actually have a higher ratio of that protein per actual harvesting fruit that they use for the actual grain, as a higher content of that gluten protein. So they can take the same amount of grain and extract more of that gluten protein, so they can go and use it and become more effective, more efficient, cost preventative. The problem is, though, that foods that have that high level of gluten protein makes it very possible that a person will develop a resistance to it because it gets a higher ratio or a higher amount.
Okay, we're back. The video froze. Don't know why, but the video froze. But what may affect one person,
it may not affect the other. Just like any type of other herbal thing, what may help one person may not help the other. It may take a different herb for that. Well, the same way with foods. There are things known as allergies, and there are things known as sensitivities. An allergy, of course, is something that when you consume something or something gets in your system, whether it be external or internal, you have an immediate reaction. That is an allergy. But sensitivity is something that may not show up. You may have it and never really know it, or it may mask itself as something else. But it's not a severe, traumatizing type thing like an allergy would be, but it's something that is a little bit less severe as far as a upfront, immediate response. But it still can be damaging nonetheless. And just my own personal testimony on that, ever since I can remember, especially my adult years, ever since my mid to late teens, I've always had a little bit of a sinus issue. And over the years, as I got older, it became worse. And, of course, I never did go to the modern type doctors because I was like, hey, why go to them if you don't have to? I just one of those things. I tried to stay away from that, even before I knew about all the healthy things. So I would try maybe some over-the-counter things, and it never really seemed like it did much help. Maybe gave you a little bit of slight relief, but never did get rid of the problem. And I'd have problems. I'd have maybe 3 or 4 sinus infections a year. This went on for years and years and years. And even if I wasn't having a sinus infection, I would still have like the runny nose. I'd have all the drainage in the morning. I'd have like these problems.
Right.
And of course, after coming here from the ministry, I got deliverance for, because fears are tied in with sinus problems.
Yes, sir.
And getting deliverance, that helped tremendously. But there was
Mhm.
still a little measure of it that still would not go away.
Right.
And I had no idea what it was. And anyway, this herbal doctor we've been visiting in Nashville, the one that told Sister Cindy about the arsenic stuff, that checked him out. We went to a seminar he had one evening, and he happened to mention he was talking about one topic, but an unrelated thing happened to mention about gluten sensitivity. And he started talking about a few of the side effects of that and some of the symptoms. And I'm thinking to myself, whoa, that rung a bell. Kind of when the Holy Spirit, gets a hold of it, it kind of like opens up your ears and understanding. Right. Well, I kind of had the same revelation. And I thought, man, that sounds like some stuff I've been dealing with all these years. So I was so moved by that I got a book that evening on the way home. And I didn't read the entire book. I didn't have to. I will eventually, but I read enough of it to realize that I actually had some of these things. I thought, well, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put myself on a gluten-free diet.
And see what happens.
And if it makes a difference, I'll know I was on the right track. And if it doesn't make a difference, well, it's no big deal. So I did that starting back around the first part of December. And it's been like a daylight and dark difference. I mean, it's made all the difference in the world. I mean, felt better, have not had those kind of problems. And just to kind of, I guess you'd say, test myself, Sister Cindy made this bread stuff. It's kind of like a banana bread, but instead of bananas, she used like canned fruits, in like I think it was peaches, and it's really good. So I ate a section of it the other night, and between like one evening and a little bit the next morning, and I could tell a difference after eating that. And it wasn't like just a little bit, but I'm talking, it was a section like maybe 2 servings of one evening, one the next morning.
Right. It
affected my sinuses, and it was the only gluten that I put in my body, and the only gluten that's been in my body for a long time. So that was something I could tell the difference with.
So this is if people who are having problems with sinuses.
Right. It's very good. Right. It's a very good possibility. If you had an ongoing problem with it, that is a very good possibility. I'm not diagnosing your problem. I'm just telling you what the experience I've detected.
Right.
And what came to be, and I found out for myself that's what I had. And my wife, she has an herbal testing kit where she has samples of different herbs, where she can do the muscle testing to see if your body rejects that or if it makes your body weak.
Right.
Or if not, then she'll check and you'll be strong. What she actually had, she said, well, I believe I've got a gluten protein powder that's in that one of those little test packs in my herbal kit. Sure enough, we got it. She checked me. I was weak. So that confirmed it. It was a second confirmation to it. So that's been a blessing just to be able to find that out. But that is one thing, though, that can make a difference. And if a person has a high enough sensitivity to the gluten protein, then it can actually turn into, over a certain amount of time, what they call celiac disease, which is a disease that affects the actual, like your colon, your intestines, the stomach area. It'll start breaking that down.
And that's what probably a lot of people end up with Crohn's disease, and
it can lead to all kinds of stuff.
It's just unlimited.
Yes, leaky gut syndrome, all kinds of stuff. It just starts to
loose stool, loose bowels, just the whole 9 yards.
And the gluten protein, like I say, is primarily in the wheat, rye, and barley. Wheat being the largest contributor, and the American diet is just loaded. Like all your breakfast cereals, a lot of these, even a lot of your healthy foods, they say, oh, it's whole grain. Well, what is it? It's primarily wheat. It may be whole grain. If you're not gluten sensitive, well, then it's fine. But almost all your flours, so anything that's made like your cookies, cakes, pies, breads, pasta, if you look at the ingredients, if you see anything that says the word wheat on it, it's going to have gluten protein in it. And anything has rye or has barley, it's going to have it. And even, here's the thing, even oats by nature do not have that particular same type of gluten protein in it, but most oats are actually processed in facilities that have wheat, rye, and barley processed in them also. If they go through the same conveyor, same machine, same packaging type process, there can be cross-contamination. And even this book said, even if the crops are rotated, if they're grown in the same soil, like on a crop rotation, or if they're if the crops are grown in an adjacent field, with the wheat, rye, or barley that has that modified protein substance in it, well, then it can actually be cross-contamination that way also.
Right.
So you can pick it up that way. So, but for people who are gluten sensitive, there are lots of gluten-free products available. There are gluten-free pastas, gluten-free breads, gluten-free all kinds of stuff. So it's not that you can't eat these other things if you enjoy eating. You just need to be smart. You just need to, just say, hey, if this is gluten-free, then I can eat this. But if it's not, well, just because I love pasta.
Mm-hmm.
I love pasta. I love bread. I used to be very athletic, and did all kinds of, a lot of training and stuff. And one of the things you do, like the bicycle racing, one of the largest contributors for getting the carbohydrates that will last a while is eating pasta. I mean, that's just been one of the main staples. And right all those years of bicycle racing and training, I mean, a lot of years of that. And then weightlifting before that, pasta was one of the big things.
Yeah, energy.
So over the years, for myself, with the level of intensity that I did the training and everything, I consumed a lot of that gluten, and I think that's probably what caused me to develop the sensitivity to it. So now I'm just going to use common sense, and I'm going to try to cut that out of my diet.
Now, this is if you're affected by this. Like here at Straitway, we make our bread, and our bread, the flour that we buy for the bread is an organic. It's organic without pesticides, herbicides, and we pay a little bit more for it. But we eat a lot of bread here, and so there are a lot of people that are not sensitive, but there are some that if you got a draining or leaky nose and all the symptoms that Ed described, then you may want to look into this. You may want to look at this and start trying to change your course of action and diet, and get yourself in a better optimum health. Matter of fact, more than anything, you need to be drinking water. Good, clean water. Get it. Drink it. Store it. You need that. Now, of course, that leads off into whey.
Oh, yeah.
Protein.
Right. And the whey, protein is one of the main staples of our diet. We need protein. Just like we need certain types of natural fats. We need carbohydrates. We need all these things, and all different types of food products and different types of foods have these things. But you got to have a balance of these things, and depending on what you do for exercise, what you do for a living, the more rigorous activity that you have, or maybe your age also, your body, your metabolism rate, you're going to have a different ratio, a different level of these things from one person to another. But as far as a protein supplement, most of your protein supplements that people take for athletes, for bodybuilders, anybody does any kind of strenuous exercise, whether it be for putting on muscle mass or for just even endurance training, they use a lot of protein supplements. And one of the biggest things you see if you go into like a GNC.
Oh, it's wall.
Oh yeah, it's like they got like a whole third of the building is just set up full. I mean, all along through there with all these protein powders, all this stuff, and they got all these guys that look all muscled up. They got some good-looking woman on there. They got all these pretty things on there, that please the eye. But probably you go into those stores like that, and I'm not picking on GNC I'm just using those as examples because people are familiar with them. You can go to Walmart, you can go to Walgreens, you can go to any store pretty much that has any kind of food substance. There will be at least a jar or a can or two of some kind of a protein.
Whey protein.
Exactly. Yep. But the problem is that most of the stuff that they sell is junk. You'd be better off taking the money that you buy it with and chewing that up and swallowing it. I mean, you'd be better off to do that because you're not going to get really any true nutritional value out of that stuff. Because one is because of the process that they use to get the whey. And the second one is a lot of those cheaper ones have a lot of fillers. And just like when you go to Walmart or somewhere, you buy herbs. Like one thing we learned through some of the herb seminars that if you go to, say, some of these discount places, you buy these discount cheap herbs. You can buy a whole bottle of, like, say, for example, say saw palmetto. And it will say, it's saw palmetto, natural saw palmetto. And it's only like, $6. It's like where a good quality brand might be $12, $15, something like that, for the same quantity. And it's like, well, I wouldn't pay this extra for that. Well, no, most people wouldn't if they don't have the understanding. Well, what you find out is that by law, for them to be able to say natural, all that has to be in that bottle, that saw palmetto, is 2% of that item has to be natural saw palmetto. The rest of it can be anything, any kind of filler. and they can legally say natural saw palmetto because 2% is in there.
Right.
2%. So when you put that stuff in your body, you're not getting the benefit of the saw palmetto because there's only 2%.
Right.
Has to be in there. So you got all these fillers that are actually can be detrimental to your body because they're actually toxins you're putting in your body. And your body has to try to deal with them. And
working against it.
Exactly. And it has to just get rid of this stuff. And then a lot of times these toxins get stored in your fat tissue and different things. It's ridiculous. Well, it's the same thing holds true with these protein powder supplements, the whey. And you buy this cheap stuff, it's not going to do you really any good. It might psychologically make you do a little something, but basically it's actually going to have most all the nutritional value is stripped out of it because most of them use a process when they change it from the dairy type whey, the milk into the whey formula, the whey product, the powder. It goes through a heating process,
which kills
most all of the amino acids, and it kills a lot of the structure of the actual unit that you're wanting to get. You want to maintain its structural integrity, and when you heat it, it breaks it down.
Now, Brother Ed is being a little modest, but I'm gonna flat out tell you: you walk into those stores and you're looking for a quality whey, you're wasting your money. You're not gonna buy no quality whey in any of those stores. I'm talking about Optimum Nutrition. I'm talking about Muscle Tech. I can go to Gaspari. I'm talking about every single one of them. They're all junk. They're all garbage.
That's true.
I just go ahead and bring it. I'm the bad guy anyway to bear bad news. We'll get back to Brother Ed.
Yeah, and you can't go in there and just say, well, this jar here for 5 pounds is $20, or this one over here is $60, so it must be better. That's not always true. It may have prettier pictures on it, but a lot of times you do turn around the back of the can and start reading that label, you will see it's got the same exact ingredients, has the same percentage of the same crap in it, and that's basically what you're getting. It's just you're paying money for nothing. It's basically what you're doing. You get a pretty picture on a container with a bunch of useless powder.
And what the bad part about it is the process that they process the whey. It's the process. I don't care if they say they have whey protein isolate, isotope, whatever they want to call it. It's still the heating process that's killing everything. And Brother Ed's going to talk more about that.
Right. There's different levels between the isolate, and also the isolate and the concentration form. There's different levels of that, and also the different types of those heating processes. Some of them go through a
pasteurization.
Some of them go through a very quick flash type high heat thing that just process it really quick, trying to get it processed quick. That really kills it really quick. Some say, well, we go through a slower process which does not have as high heat. Well, it may not be. It's like, okay, well, if I jump into an oven that's 400 degrees and I'm in there for 5 minutes, okay, well, I feel this way. This is what happens. Well, if I jump into an oven that's 200 degrees, and I do it for, instead of 5 minutes, I do it for 25 minutes. Well, the end result is you're still being subjected to the heat that it should not be subjected to, and it causes problems. So the end result is it's still been heated up. So one's not really any better than the other.
Right.
So what these other companies have done that you can't buy in the store is they go through a cold filtration process, and of course they have different names for them. They have different names.
Come on, fancy names.
Yeah, fancy names. There might be a little slight difference between one or the other, but the process is a different process where they end up with what they call a denatured. It's denatured. They're trying to get away from that. And I got some examples here that I'm just going to show. And I'm not promoting any of these brands. I'm just using this as examples.
Right.
Now, I actually have used this right here. This is from Wellness Resources. This is by a man named Byron Richards. I don't know if you can see, it might have some glare on that sticker. There you go. Now, you're better at that than I am. That's why you do this. But that's probably, in my opinion, as far as what I have used, that is, in what I've researched so far, has been to me, for my own personal use, that has been what I found to be the highest grade of the whey protein. And I can just tell you a little bit about what's on the can right quick. Just give you a little bit of the process. You can go to his website. His website is, of course, www.wellnessresources.com. And he has all kinds of very healthy information on there about not only his products, it goes into detail about them, but also has different health topics. There's question and answer sections. There's I believe some testimonials on there from people who've used the products. And he even has a free what's that podcast that he puts out? Is it every week?
Mm-hmm.
Free podcast, all kinds of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And you can even call the company if you have questions. You can you can write to them, email the company. They're very helpful. They don't charge for helping you. I mean, it's just it's very good. So I'm not trying to say he knows everything, but he's very informative.
Mm-hmm.
But just for example, I'm just going to read you a little something they have on this particular thing. It says daily protein, which is what their whey protein is called. Daily protein is produced using ceramic cross-flow microfiltration. This natural and gentle process makes a fat-free, cholesterol-free, and lactose-free product while leaving the protein molecules fully intact, over 99% undenatured. The result is the finest whey protein on the market today, and it goes on to different things of that nature. But that kind of gives you an idea of the process that they use. But if you go on his website, it goes into a lot more detail on that particular process. Of how they come about that, and it compares that process with a lot of the other generic cheap whey that has been heated, and he goes into a lot of the more scientific terminology.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so people who are maybe scientists out there, lab people, trust me, he'll be able to he can carry on a conversation with you.
We just want to know what works.
Exactly. This stuff right here is really good because anybody who's concerned about, say they're struggling with high cholesterol because of a poor diet they've had, or they have lactose intolerance problem, or they have something of that nature, they're concerned about fat, and they're really trying to watch those levels. This right here is the only protein supplement I found that is a whey protein that is undenatured, and it actually is fat-free, cholesterol-free, and lactose-free. That's the only one I found. And this one, you know, Cindy, we've muscle tested with it. It checks super strong. Another thing too about this company, the process they use, this filtration process, they are, as far as I know now, and what they claim, I've not seen anything yet to dispel his claim. The process they use leaves their whey to where you can actually consume it without it having a bitter taste. If you want to use it just in its raw state, you can actually consume it. They offer it in a raw state that is unflavored. It just has the natural flavor. All these other companies that do all this heated process, but the heating process, it makes it bitter, so you would not be able to eat it, you know, consume it. So they put all these sweeteners and all these artificial flavors, all this stuff in it to try to get it more palatable where you can try to consume it. Because they know if you didn't, it would be so bitter you wouldn't want to get it down. But now they do offer this, like this one here is in the strawberry. They do offer strawberry, chocolate, and vanilla for people who just want that flavor.
And this is a 2-pound can.
2-pound can. And if you go through, if you call the company, and you mention Sister Cindy, you mention her name. Of course, they won't know her as Sister Cindy, but
don't say sister because she ain't their sister. She just our sister.
Right. But if you'll say give
Cindy
her
Bridwell.
Right. If you give her name, you will receive 25% off. And I think right now that puts a 2-pound can of this around $36. Yeah, $36.75. Which is
that's a pretty good price.
That's a good price for 2 pounds of what I consider to be the finest level.
Now, of course, you could go out there and you could buy your 10-pound bag of Optimum Whey and pay $70 for it, but all you're doing is buying 10 pounds worth of junk.
Yes, that's exactly right. You'd be better off just.
And the reason why I keep you saying Optimum because in the bodybuilding or in the weightlifting community, that is considered the #1 whey protein out there on the market. The rest of them are considered junk behind that, but this is what Brother Ed, he said, I've never tried that one. I tried this one. The next one he's going to show you, but he said that one is a whole lot more superior, and I'm inclined to believe it.
And another thing, too, the reason why that a lot of these other companies you see at the GNC and the Vitamin Shop and all these other places, the reason you see, money, and the reason those are promoted so much, and you don't see these, most of us never heard of
this. You never see that.
No. Well, the reason why is if you go to any magazine stand and you pick up Muscle Mag, Men's Fitness, you pick up any of these magazines like bodybuilding, you will not see these products in there because these people are concerned about your overall health. They're not concerned about, how much you can bench press. They're not concerned about how big a chest you can get. They're not concerned about this. That is not what they're about. They are strictly about helping people.
Right.
Now, do they make a living off of it? Well, sure they do. I mean, they're not going to do it for free. They got to pay their bills somehow.
Exactly.
But that's their occupation. But their goal is to provide health. If you provide a good quality product and can make people healthy and change their lives, then the product speaks for itself.
Right.
You don't have to promote it in all these magazines and everything. But you pick up any of those magazines, and you'll see all these brands that claim to do all this stuff. It's a crock of, you know what? It's a lie.
Yeah.
It's a lie. But now, this other product here, Pastor found out about this.
Now, I found this out from Brother John Reed.
That is called One World Way.
Apparently, Alex Jones and a few other people are on this particular protein right here, and I've been taking it for about a week or two. And I haven't done any weightlifting, nothing whatsoever at all, but I can actually tell you that from my own personal experience, that this way is a whole lot better than the last way I've normally taken, which has been optimal.
Mm-hmm.
I'm throwing the names out there. I'm throwing them under the bus. Go ahead.
Okay, this is a very good protein. This also is made, based off of dairy, and they do use, they talk about using this natural grass pasture-fed cows. They go through another very good filtration process. The only thing that concerns me about this particular one, and I'm not saying anything bad about it, but this is a concern that some people out there may have with it. This one is probably just shy as far as the quality of the first one I showed you, because this one here does have cholesterol with it. It does have, a few other issues with it that the other one does not, because of that filtration process. So if cholesterol levels, which is small, the fat percentage is very small. So if that's not really a concern, this will be fine. But the main thing is that it kind of concerned me about it is the first one has no added sugar or any kind of sweetener to it. It actually has some natural flavoring, to give it the strawberry flavor, or the chocolate be the same way. Okay, this one, however, it has the sugar. It doesn't have the sugar. I mean, it makes a claim: no artificial sugar, sweeteners, no that kind of, which is great. I mean, I'm not knocking this product at all, but it uses stevia, and compared to refined sugar, high fructose corn syrup, a lot of those things, stevia looks like it's a wonderful thing. Stevia is a natural product. It's a natural. The actual stevia that comes from this shrub that is actually in other countries that has been around for forever. Mm-hmm. And what they do is they actually extract two different properties out of it. And the stevia, and there's a scientific name for it, like a Latin scientific name for it. Mm-hmm. Well, stevia is what they use it for short. The form they use for the sweetener is 200 to 300 times sweeter than natural sugar. Mm-hmm. And now I love chocolate. Now, when it comes to a sweet, that's my thing. Now, I'm not big into like greasy, nasty type foods. I'm not into that kind. But my weakness would be sugar, and chocolate is the main one. I love chocolate. And I've not tried this yet as far as like drinking a full shake. But some years back, I would consume all kinds of sugary sweet stuff. I have been off of that now. I will occasionally have a little bite of something.
Do you feel better?
Oh yeah. And getting between the gluten free and cutting back the sugar. Oh man. Oh yeah. Just great, wonderful. But the thing of it is that I took my wife. She's tried this, and she said that for her, somebody who does not eat sweets, very rarely does she ever eat a bite of anything sweet. Mm-hmm. And the whole time I've known her, we've been married like 11 years, and she just never consumed sweet stuff, hardly ever. Mm-hmm. Very rare she will. And if she does, it's a small little piece of something. Where I, on the other hand, made up the difference. I made up the slack.
You brought the balance.
Yes, I did.
You can't have a false balance.
Yeah, that's right.
It's like, somebody got to do it.
It's like
tough job.
That's right. I was going to get mine and get hers too. So, and if anybody had anything else left over, I was going to get that too. Didn't want to go to waste. But that was before. But chocolate was my weakness. But she would tell me that she tried this, and she said it's too sweet for me. And I'm thinking like, well, I can see that, because somebody who doesn't have a habit of eating sweet things.
Because you don't eat sweet.
Yeah, it would be too strong. So I thought, I'm gonna try it. But she goes, well, just wet your finger and stick, just get a little bit in your finger. Well, I did that. And it tasted great, but it was so sweet. It had me like going like, what did I just do? I couldn't believe it. How sweet just that little bit. That one little bit was on the tip of a little bit of powder on the tip of my tongue would have been enough for a whole glass to me of the drink. I can't imagine what one scoop would be. And I just thought, man, that's just way too much. But I'll tell you the reason why. People say, why would they put that in there? Well, I think possibly two reasons. I can't say 100% sure on the first one, but one possible reason is when
we're Americans.
Well, yeah, one thing is with this company going through the process they go through, and they can actually they offer it in a unflavored version, meaning there's no bitterness with their filtration process, which also takes out the fat, the cholesterol, and makes it lactose free. This one doesn't make that claim, and every version they offer has a flavor.
Mm-hmm.
So it would tell me there may be something, even though this is very good, it may be just a little bit shy of being at the quality of that one. So they had to put some sort of sweetener with it, some sort of flavor. But another reason why a lot of companies will use high levels of this sweetener is because we, as Americans, in our wonderful dietary pit of hell we're in, Americans are consumed. When they want something sweet, generally they want it sweet. They want it just oozing sweet, sugar, syrupy, sappy stuff that should make you sick. But we have built up a tolerance to that. So now it takes, where years ago it would have taken just a little bit of sugar, and you just thought, boy, I can tell it's sweet. Well, now we got to have all this. Like you drink a Mountain Dew. There's like 12 tablespoons of sugar in a regular-sized Mountain Dew drink. Can you imagine what that is?
12?
Yeah, it's like 12.
Table.
Yeah. That's ridiculous. You see these people that will toss down in a day's time. They will toss down, several, like morning, mid-morning, during lunch, afternoon, evening. They're tossing down all these drinks, Cokes, Pepsis, any of that kind of stuff. They're tossing that stuff down. Or even kids. Like people now will say, well, I'm going to let my kids be healthy. I don't want them to drink all these sodas and everything. So I'm going to get these little juice boxes, these little fruit juices, or any juices that come in the jars. Well, the problem is that most of those are sweetened also. And they have as high or higher levels of sugar content in those little juices. And they say, oh, but that's juice. It's natural juice. Well, it may say in the thing, natural juice. But then you read the ingredients, and it's like, okay, main ingredients, first one, which is your highest percentage. Sugar. Or high fructose corn syrup. Yeah, modified, corn syrup. Or, yada, 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 yada. Then you get down here, it has a little bit of juice in it.
And of course, on these labels, when you read these labels, the first ingredient that you read on these labels, that is what's in the greatest amount of quantity inside these containers. Right. It diminishes as you go. So if you can, and whenever you're reading labels, and the label is only about that long, like maybe 1 or 2 lines, and it's not like a dictionary.
Oh yeah,
you understand what I mean? You want to stay away from the dictionary labels. You want to stay with the labels that are about like this.
And another thing too, when you see those dictionary labels or any of the labels, if you see words on there that you can't pronounce, it looks like is that a disease? What is that? It's some sort of a scientific compound word. It's got all these different chemical elements and compounds added together, and it makes it like 15 to 20 letters long. You don't want to put that in your body. I mean, it needs to be something that you read it. It's like, oh, that's English. That I can read that. That is English. So that's just common sense is what that is. But the amount of the only concern I have with this really would be the stevia. And I did just a few minutes research that you can do on the internet about stevia. And of course, the people who market stevia, who promote it, extract it, sell it, and believe in it, they're going to promote it as being a wonderful thing. Okay. But then there are those things. There's always the other side. So anytime you have any kind of when man gets a hold of something that God made, okay, and then he puts his hand to it and then tries to alter or change it, well, then a lot of times there's going to be a side effect to it of some sort. Now, these things here, this is just a little bit of stuff that I saw on here that, now, I don't have the scientific basis. I have not done the testing. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a doctor. Don't claim to be. Don't want to be.
But it's come from your own independent research.
Right. You can go on the internet, do a Google search, type in the word stevia, and it'll bring up all kinds of stuff. I mean, you can spend hours on reading this stuff. This is just for a few minutes of stuff. And this, I've also have heard some other folks talk about this, but in the times past, I didn't really think about it because it's not something I have chosen to put in my body. But here's what it says. For example, it can have a decrease. Now, I didn't say this will. I said this can have a decreased sperm production and shrinking of testicles. Okay, of course, now you women out there, you sisters and everything, that's you don't have to worry about that. Nausea, That's a side effect. I'm not saying you will have this, but it can be. And this is for high levels. I'm not saying smaller. This is for people who consume a lot of stevia products that have a lot of stevia in them. If you consume a lot of those on a regular basis, then you run a higher risk. In occasional use, you probably never notice it. You can have a feeling of fullness. You consume something, a small amount of something that has a stevia. If it has a high concentration level of it, you'll feel like this bloated type of fullness that you shouldn't feel for that small amount. Dizziness, muscle pain, numbness, headaches. It can affect your blood sugar levels, and it can also affect your blood pressure. Now, on the positive side, there are just as many things I can say. Well, it can help people who have diabetes, because people who have diabetes who had to watch their sugar levels, insulin levels. This right here, a small amount of this, they can sweeten their stuff, have that sweet taste without having to consume the high levels of sugar to get that. Well, it seems to me like if you got diabetes and sugar is an issue, why put sugar of any kind in your body?
Why not just stay away from it?
Right, why not stay away from it? Duh. Okay, and then your blood pressure problems, same way. Blood pressure, if sugar is going to be cause a problem, that's going to cause a factor in your blood pressure. Why not go ahead and try to eat healthy? Why not try to live healthy? And that way you don't have those problems. You know, a lot of the problems with Americans or Western civilization, we'll just go across that because that gets everybody. A lot of the problems with Western civilization is our diet is so bad. I mean, it's phenomenal how bad it is. And when people have to resort to chemical compounds and additives and trying to alter and change things to make it to where consumers will eat it. Because you have a person who gets, say, like you talk about Alex Jones. And I'm not knocking Alex Jones. I mean, he's done some great documentaries. You know, I listen to him.
But he doesn't live the lifestyle that we live.
Yeah, and if you know, of course, I'm not 100% perfect Mr. Fitness either. I still got room for improvement myself. But if you were to take and look at, say, my physique and the way I eat and whatnot compared to Mr. Jones's physique, and do that, and I'm just being real here. You know, you can see a difference. You know, and I don't think that he got that way from eating healthy.
No, well, I'm coming from Alex Jones. He's been on there, so he's now losing.
Yes, right,
losing.
Exactly, and that's great. That's great.
And price comparison again.
Yes,
this big container right here, it will, and you won't get no discount because they don't know us. This is a 5-pound container. This container will run you, and it's gonna knock your shoes off. This thing is gonna run you $154, and that's not including shipping and handling. This container of this stuff right here, without Sister Cindy discount, is,
well, it's you just take $36.75,
and they have 25%.
Yeah,
let's just round it up to maybe $40, $39, $40. Okay, so you got 40, 80. We'll just take the high side, 40, 80, and then to get the same amount, 40, 80, and then you get another. Okay, you can get 5 pounds of this for $100.
Less than $100.
Yeah, less than $100 with mentioning Cindy's name.
Yeah.
All right. And you can get 5 pounds of this for $154. So, and again, both of these are superb protein shakes, the best that you're probably going to get. What Ed is saying is that his personal preference.
Right, it's my personal preference because
it's this one.
Right, because
over this one.
Right, because I think it has a little better filtration. It is the fat-free, cholesterol-free, lactose-free, and it doesn't have any other sweeteners added to it.
What you got there?
All right, this is when Cindy mentioned about us doing that 21-day purification type detoxing program. We were to eat all those green vegetables, eat the salads, and some fruits. But we also, 3 times a day for the first 10 days, we were to drink a protein drink using this particular protein. And if you'll see on that label, you can read there, it says dairy-free. So that is not made from milk. So that is not a typical dairy whey product like these other 2 protein powders we just showed you.
Right.
That is 100% vegetarian. Now, for folks who are out there who have lactose intolerant, something of that nature, they've had bad experience with that, this would be something of this nature would be very good to have. People who are just want to try to be vegetarians for some reason, you don't see as much.
Right. No, you don't. Not the first time I saw it. How much was it?
Well, I don't know for sure on that because that came as a package when we got that. We did that program.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know how much an actual. We'll find out and we'll get the information. But that has no added flavors or anything to it. No sweeteners added to it. It's just it lists all the different ingredients that's in it, and it's bland. It doesn't taste like really bad, but it doesn't taste good either. It's kind of like chalk and cardboard, flavor or something. But, hey, you can put like some blueberries or strawberries or bananas or whatever you wanted to with it. If you wanted a fruity type drink, blend it up a little bit, or you could, if you want a vegetable type drink, you can put some vegetables in it.
But you got to understand, the information we're giving you here, what Brother Ed is giving you here, is information is living to eat and not eating to live.
Exactly.
So there's a total different mindset in this process of thinking.
Exactly.
Because you've already done had enough eating to live.
Right.
Believe me, you done ate enough for 3 or 4 lifetimes.
And when we did that 21-day thing, we were to have this, at least 3 of these a day. So it'd be like, obviously.
And that was your protein.
This was our protein. For the first 3 days, we were not to have any kind of meat whatsoever. No meat, no dairy, no eggs. But you had these at least 3 times a day. And then you also had unlimited amount of the green vegetables and salads, things of that nature. Now, I'll just tell you, now, by the time I would have this, I'd have one at breakfast, one at lunch, and one at supper.
Mm-hmm.
And by the time I would do that, I would have this first, and then I would eat my salad, my greens, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I would be pretty full. Maybe not the first day or two, but after a few days, I got to the point where I didn't have to have a big, huge salad, and then I wasn't having to have things in between meals.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that makes a big difference right there. And one thing, of course, after the 10 days, we were allowed to have a little bit of meat, a small percentage of meat, small portion, about the size of the palm of your hand. And when you did that, you did not consume this also. So if you had
because you were getting your protein.
Because we're getting our protein. But this right here, though, actually works very, very good. I thought, didn't you, Cindy? I mean, it worked very good. But we were not hungry, and energy level was great. So this is just another alternative to a all-natural, dairy-free type of protein powder that will give you all kinds of protein. And it's like I said, we'll have to find out what the cost is, because this came with a whole bunch of other stuff in that program. But it is available separately. But you can't buy this, though, through the company. You can't get it through us, because it even says so right here.
Yeah.
Sold through healthcare professionals. So you actually had to contact somebody who actually, like we did, somebody actually does this right here. But I'm just trying to give you an idea. There may be some other companies out there similar to this that offer this type of a protein powder. That'd be something you could research on your own if that was something that interests you. But now, another thing, too, talking about people like weight loss. If a person develops a habit of eating large volumes of food on a regular basis, the larger the volume of food you put in, whether it be good or bad, the larger the volume of food, the more your stomach stretches.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you start to try to go on a diet or eat healthy, if you eat less food, then you've been used to eating a lot of food, you're going to have this empty space in there that's going to make you feel empty, make you feel like you're not full. If you're used to eating till you feel at full effect, it'll take a little while of cutting back. Then after you do that, your stomach will start to shrink.
Right. And as Americans, that's what we do. We eat big, and we need to stop eating. And what we need to do is you need to eat to where you're comfortable. And of course, a few hours later, you're going to be hungry. But you need to eat to where you're comfortable, not eat to where your gut is. Oh, Jesus.
What's this going to be, a boy or a girl?
Whoa! Boy, that hurt, man. It felt like I pulled a muscle. But you don't want to eat like it. You got to change that attitude. You sit down, eat to where you're comfortable. Get up!
Mm-hmm. Right. And after a few days of doing something like that, you cut back on the volume, you'll get to the point where it will not take as much food to fill you up with the physical volume.
Because you're changing your appetite. You're resetting yourself.
Right. And another thing, too, is when you eat a lot of junk food, things that do not have any real nutritional value, your body is not getting the nutrients and the minerals and vitamins that it needs, and the protein, the carb. It is not getting the stuff that sustains normal life. So your body still is hungering, needing those nutrients. It needs those things put in it for it to function properly. And your body is smart enough to say, hey, we need more stuff. But yet you filled up on chips and
Junk.
sodas and all this. Yeah, you fill up on junk. So your stomach is it's maxed out. You're topped off. But it's with crap. But your body's saying we need substance.
Mm-hmm.
But yet you're full. But you still think, well, I still get this thing in my brain
telling me I'm hungry.
I'm hungry. So what do? You keep on putting it in, but you're not putting in good stuff.
Because you're not putting quality stuff in your body, so your body doesn't communicate to you those cravings and those urges.
All right. So if you will start cutting back and cut out the junk food and just start putting in the good quality food, you will get to the point where you will not have to put in as much volume of food, and your body will feel fuller because it's getting the stuff it needs. And by the time you do it, you'll feel better and you'll lose weight. I mean, a lot of it's common sense.
All right. Well, we hope you enjoyed it.
Uh-oh. Look at him looking.